Hello and welcome to Saving Grace Education. In this lesson on rivers, we'll be looking at the different features of a river. The aim of today's lesson is for you to be able to describe the key features of a river system. The success criteria for today's lesson include you being able to tell some of the features of a river's upper course, for you to be able to describe some of the features of a river's middle course, and for you to be able to describe some of the features of a river's lower course. For you to be able to compare the features of a river at different points along its course. Before we start, let's think about the life of a river. Tell your partner the life story of a river. Where might it be born? What kinds of places and events might it see along its life journey? And where does its life end? You'll remember that the place where a river is born, where it originates, is called its source. The places it runs along is called its course. And the place where its life ends, where it goes into the sea, is called its mouth. Now let's have a look at these different terms that describe the features of a river. These include the upper course, the middle course, the lower course, the valley, a channel, a waterfall, rapids, gorge, meander, a tributary, confluence, floodplain, levee, delta, and the estuary. It is very important for us to be able to distinguish between an upper course, a middle course, and a lower course in a river. There are very specific characteristics attributed to each part of a river's course. A river is split up into three parts: the upper course, the middle course, and the lower course. Each is defined by particular variations of features such as discharge speed, the width, and the depth of the riverbed, the landscape, and many more. The upper course of a river is where the river begins its path toward the sea. This part of the river arguably has the most landscape features and biggest range of physical features. The middle course of a river is the part in the middle. Here it has more energy and volume than in the upper course. The gradient is more gentle, and lateral or sideways erosion has widened the channel. The river channel has also become deeper. In the lower course, the river has a high volume and a large discharge. The river channel is now deep and wide, and landscape around it is flat. However, as the river reaches the end of its journey, energy levels are low and deposition takes place. A valley is a long trough in the landscape that has been eroded by a river or a combination of the river and glacier action. A channel is a groove in the land that a river flows along. A waterfall is a place where the river course is interrupted by a tall step, causing the water to fall over it. Rapids are fast-flowing stretches of water formed where the river surface breaks up into weaves because of rocks near to the surface. A gorge is a steep-sided river valley which is very narrow and deep. Most gorges have rocky sides. The river cuts this deep valley by erosion. Gorges are created over thousands of years. A meander can be described as a bend in a river, usually in the middle or lower course. The meander continually changes shape as the fast-flowing current of the water erodes the outside bank of the meander, and deposition occurs in the slack water of the inside of the bend. A tributary is a stream or a river that feeds into a larger watercourse. In other words, it feeds into a larger river. Confluence is where two rivers or streams meet. The floodplain of a river is the flat land of the river valley close to the river banks. The floodplain is usually found in the lower course of a river. It is a fertile area of land used for agriculture and growing crops. Levee is a ridge of sediment, of rock particles, deposited naturally alongside a river by overflowing water. A delta is a fan-shaped area of sediment built up around the mouth of a river. An estuary is a drowned river valley in a coastal lowland area. It occurs near or at the mouth of a river, where the tide meets the current and the fresh and salt waters mix. Like I've already mentioned, rivers can be divided into three stages: the upper course, the middle course, and the lower course. In the upper course, rain falling in highland areas flows downwards and collects in channels, forming a stream. As the stream continues to run downhill, it is joined by other streams and increases in size and speed. The point where two rivers join is called a confluence. The middle course. As a river reaches its middle course, the fast-flowing water causes erosion, which makes it deeper and wider. The river erodes left and right, forming horseshoe-like loops called meanders. The lower course. In the lower course, a river is in flat land and flows slowly. The force of the water is lower than in the other stages, so the river deposits all the bits of eroded land it has been carrying with it. Let's have a closer look at the upper course. When discussing the characteristics of the upper course, consider things like the speed, the features, the valley shape, as well as the channel width. Features of a river's upper course include the source. This is where the river begins. It is usually found at one of the highest points in the region's landform. The valley shapes are usually V-shaped. These are the landforms that carry the river down the source to the main body of the river. Their V-shape form means that the river simply follows the point at the bottom before it becomes big and strong enough to carve its own path. Speed here is usually very high. The channel width is usually very small. Waterfalls and rapids are some of the features that you can find in the upper course of a river. When water moves into, by, or over alternating layers of hard and soft rock in the landscape, it causes each to erode at different rates. Soft rock erodes quickly and more smoothly, and hard rock tends to stay firm and erodes more steeply. As the river encounters these alternating layers, it erodes the soft rock faster, which can create waterfalls and plunge pools, as well as rapids. Another feature that is found in the upper course of a river is gorges. Now let's have a look at the middle course of a river. Again, ask yourself what the speed, the features, the valley shape, and the channel width this part of the river is like. Here, because of the lower gradient, the speed is less than it would be in the upper course of a river. Because erosion now takes place both sideways and downwards, the valley shape is U-shaped. Also, the channel width would be broader. Middle course river features include wider, shallower valleys, meanders, as well as oxbow lakes. Now let's have a look at the lower course. Again, consider its speed, its features, its valley shapes, and the channel width. In the lower course, the river has a high volume and a large discharge. The river channel is now deep and wide, and the landscape around it is flat. The channel width is very broad, and as I mentioned, the valley shape is now even more U-shaped, flat-bottomed. Around the lower course of the river, we find features such as floodplains and deltas. You can now do the activity on river features on the worksheets provided. In this activity, use the features of rivers vocabulary to label the river system. The challenge here is for you to be able to describe the river during the upper, middle, and lower courses. Remember how these change. Now let's do this activity together. What's the river like there? In the left-hand column is the upper course, in the middle column the middle course, and the lower course is on the right-hand side. On the bottom, we have some words describing features of a river. Remember, some words might go in more than one column. In the upper course, we find valleys, channels, waterfalls, rapids, gorges, tributaries, and confluences. In the middle course, we find valleys, channels, tributaries, confluences, and meanders. In the lower course, we find valleys, channels, but also floodplains, levees, deltas, and estuaries. The aim of today's lesson was for you to be able to describe the key features of a river system. You were successful in today's lesson if you can make the following statements. I can tell you some of the features of a river's upper course. I can tell you some of the features of a river's middle course. I can tell you some of the features of a river's lower course. And I can compare the features of a river at different points along its course. If you did not achieve today's aim or meet today's success criteria, please review this lesson until you are able to do so. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this lesson.